What is the fastest way to end your suffering? Stay tuned. I'm Professor Spira. I practice something called the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. I've done so for over 20 years and I have helped thousands of people transform their lives using the methods found in that great book. And today I want to talk about the ending of human suffering. How to end your suffering, how to end the suffering of humanity. So I was driving and I came across this, the Heart Attack Prevention Center. And for those of us that practice the Mucusless Diet Healing System, it is absurd that you would need an institution titled Heart Attack Prevention Center when we know what needs to be done to prevent, to totally prevent heart attack. It is as simple as remove the foods that create heart attacks. Remove the pus and mucus forming foods from your diet in order to prevent heart attack. Yet 50,000 people a day are dying of heart disease. Yet no one makes that effort with the seriousness to eradicate that which causes this. We wouldn't need this, the Heart Attack Prevention Center, someplace where the only thing that they should be telling you is stop eating pus and mucus forming foods, clean out your colon. But humanity has put itself on a path of perpetual pain and suffering. Because as long as we remain addicted to the pus and mucus forming foods, as long as people try to create food pyramids and charts and nutritional concepts and calorie counting and fat and protein analysis and all of that, playing games in the sandbox, as long as we're doing that, and those foods that they promote ultimately are the things that cause illness, the things that cause disease, the pus and mucus forming foods, then there is going to be no peace. There will be no justice. There will be no removal of the pain, and there will be no overcoming of the suffering of humanity. If you want to conquer suffering, overcome your suffering, you have to get the pus and mucus forming foods out of your diet. Because when you're talking about, first and foremost, pus forming foods, the meat and the dairy, the foods that are born out of suffering, the suffering of another sentient being that's slaughtered and in many cases abused and beaten and not given any quality of life. And then with all of this, knowing what's in store for them, these aren't stupid animals, knowing that as bad a life as they led, they still wanted to live. Their bodies, their minds, and their spirits were still trying to live. And then they're slaughtered. And all of that fear, all of that adrenaline, that's all that came up when they're on their way to be slaughtered. Now that's in them tissues. All of that pain and that suffering gets into the tissues of that being, and that now you're going to eat that, and you put yourself into the karmic cycle of that dead animal, of that slaughter lifestyle. So if you want to end your suffering, a good first step is to stop eating the foods that are born of suffering when they're unnecessary, when it makes total sense that if you eat these foods, that sooner or later you will go the route of the kind of suffering. Analyze that a little bit. Look at that path. Go from, it's, you know, people at the partying and we're at BW3s and we're eating McDonald's and it's all fun and having the pizza party. But somewhere along the way, there's not a conscious connection between that behavior and that kind of eating and the nursing home that is in store for you, and the hospital bed, the uncomfortable hospital bed that's in store for you. The pain and suffering down the road. There's a disconnection right now amongst most people. There's a disconnection between that, between the eating of this pus and mucus forming foods and the suffering that definitely will come about as a result. This is simple cause and effect. But to understand that, first you have to let go of the nutritional theories and all of this mess that is basically enabling you to eat the disease-producing foods. You have to let that go. And once you do, now you get yourself in a position where you're able to let go of that level of the physical suffering. Now, when you're talking about the mental and the spiritual, the emotional, you got to do a lot of work on yourself. Do that work. That's the internal work. The internal work that must be done. And whether in whatever kind of emotional release techniques that you do, I'm a fan of something called the Sedona method. I got a video about that on here. But that is only going to be useful when you have the Mucusless Diet Healing System first. Have that as your foundation. Then, whatever else after that, you're able to deal with that. So, if you want to alleviate heart attacks or put yourself in the best position, you want to put yourself in the best position to not have to endure that kind of suffering. In order to do that, get yourself in line, eating a diet that is not based on suffering, eating a diet that's not based on death, beginning to live a life that's not based on the death culture, where everything revolves around death. The things we watch, the television things, and all over the place, it's all about death. Let go of that. Let go of that. Step into the light. Step into the light of mucus-free eating. And I truly believe that is how we are going to overcome human suffering on a mass scale. Now, before we get to that, there's going to be quite a bit of elimination, quite a bit of suffering that people are going to have to go through, because they have to. You have to take responsibility for every bite of that dead animal that was suffering. You're going to have to deal with that. So instead of feeling sorry for yourself when you're going through elimination and you're laying there getting your bed rest and you're fasting and you feel terrible, think about those animals that had went through your body, and then be like, okay, I understand why I had to burn this off. The cause and effect, whether you believe in like a karma concept or not, the cause and effect. Because you ate suffering, you become suffering. You experience the suffering. But to let go of that, to eliminate the suffering, that's the key. If that's something you're interested in, and you're watching this far, so I assume that you are. There's a lot of people that really love their suffering. As I call this, the happy slave era. There's a lot of happy slaves out there that love everything about the death culture. They love the heart attack prevention centers. They like to be ignorant. They think it's blissful. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is suffering. Ignorance is suffering. And you got to make a choice. To suffer or not to suffer. To eliminate or not to eliminate. That's the question. That's the most important question. So I thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're new here, go down below, click the links, make sure you sign up for the Mucus-free Life Insiders Club. When you do, you'll get free downloads, 3 beautiful PDFs that have some recipes to get you started, mucus-free recipes. You know, we gotta eliminate the suffering out of you. You gotta get started someplace, and don't put it off, because the suffering ain't going nowhere. It's not being put off. You think it is. You know, don't put it off. Sign up right now. Get on this path. Read the Mucusless Diet Healing System. We have the annotated, revised, and edited edition. Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. There's good news in that book. There's good news for humanity. Good news is that we don't have to suffer endlessly. We don't have to live that kind of life anymore. That's beautiful news. Before you go, I want you to take a look right here. This is a beautiful video that has been handpicked specifically for you. I want you to click here right now, click right here, and I will see you over there. Peace, love, and breath.